going on, everybody? It is IBB James back here with part 2 of the hashtag IBB Community Special Limited Edition with the City Councilwoman Laura Pizmoht, correct?
That's right.
I always get nervous because she has a very cool last name.
Very cool.
And like Schleicher, it's like, you know what you're saying, right? Schleicher.
I'm not Pizmoht, by the way. It is Pizmoht.
Pizmoht.
That's right.
Very good. So, very sorry about that.
Sorry to hit you.
No, you're fine. It's okay. I'll cry later. But so we talked about first, know what you're voting for.
Yes.
Know what position. Know the what.
Yes, the what.
So number 2, you're going to talk about knowing who you're voting for.
Exactly.
So we know what position. Mm-hmm. Now we need to know who is trying to fill that position. Because that's where, for me, I say this all the time. There, you got 3 or 4 things that James Schleicher will be a great candidate for. Everything else in life, terrible. Do not vote. Do not vote for me.
Don't vote for James Schleicher for county coroner.
No,
that's not a good idea.
Oh heck no, no. So that's where too, like I said, is just there's certain. Everyone always has the best intentions,
right.
And that's where I know for me personally, I have made the biggest mistakes of my life have come from me being overconfident and saying, well, I did great over here, so of course I'll do great over there. You know, I always tell people it's like you're intoxicated by your own nonsense, your own success. Success can be intoxicated in a bad way.
Yes.
And that's where, that I feel is too. I feel like sometimes people they run for something, and it's just it's not even politics. It's everything in life. People are like, oh, I'm gonna go this career.
Right. Yeah, you just see someone, a city council person, and they're just sitting there, and they're meeting for a couple hours every every 2 weeks, and it's like, oh, that's an easy job. I want that job.
Yeah.
But they don't know behind the
scenes. You told me that
scenes.
you were working on stuff till like 2 in the morning.
I think if I took the salary I make as a city council person, and I might make 50 cents an hour based on all the work that goes into doing a really good job.
You will make 50 cents an hour. Council.
That's why we need to remember that they're public servants.
Correct.
I mean, we get paid, but
it's.
Just to be fully transparent, I get paid $6,000 a year to be a city council person, and I'm easily working, a lot, many hours, and but I love it, so I don't mind. I like being a public servant, and I'm proud and honored to actually.
So that takes us right into the who.
Right,
so again,
exactly.
It's not,
yes.
Who is in that office, and everyone is going to tell you. Everybody has the same. I'm not doing this for the money.
Exactly. Anyone can tell you anything.
Yeah. So for you, what are some things you look for in the who part, and where are some resources that voters can go to check it out?
Great.
And find out more.
That's such a good question. So spoiler alert, it's not the yard signs. Okay.
Oh, man.
The yard signs can tell you a little bit about a candidate, whether
they speak to me. I'm like driving
if they make sure you can read their sign, maybe they're a little more considerate than if it's a big jumble of mess that you can't read. Yeah. I mean, maybe, but I wouldn't really go to the yard signs to tell you whether someone's good or not. I mean, because they use your favorite color is not a good reason to vote for them. I know, or that you like their name. Bad idea.
Right.
Okay, but what you can do is candidates will hand out literature, and a lot of that even is useless, but sometimes it's good, and you can.
And a lot of it's the same buzzword key point. So
there are 2 candidates running for an open seat on our city council in Willoughby Hills, and one of them they both have what's called a palm card or a door knocker card, and they're these rectangular pieces of literature that when they go door to door or they'll mail out, and so they have different things that they say about themselves, and the first one, her name is Laura Lenz, and she is.
I've seen the sign.
Yes, Laura Lenz.
It is red.
It is red. It's yellow and red.
Yellow.
It is. I know. It's nice, right? It's very eye-catching, but that's not a reason to vote for her. Don't vote for her because you like yellow and red. No. So, but anyway, in her campaign literature, what she does is she has her name and a picture of her, and she looks, like a normal person. That's good. Plus
Yep.
one.
Plus one. Yep.
She exists.
Yes.
And
yes.
then what I like about her is she lists out all her community experience, like all her volunteer work that she's done in her community. She's volunteered with our Willoughby Lions Club. She's volunteered with at the Willoughby Hills Pancake Breakfast with our seniors, with her kids' school, with on and on and on. So all these things she's done for our community. So that shows to me, again, that she cares about our community.
Correct.
That she cares about
too,
the
it's like
residents.
history doesn't guarantee, past results don't
Right.
guarantee future results,
Right.
but they're a very good indicator.
Right.
of
If you have nothing
what's
else to
gonna-
go on, it's just sort of like a hack. This is a hack to
Ooh,
know whether something's
life hack.
good or exactly.
Life hack alert. All right.
Right.
So.
It's still, anyone can say anything. People can volunteer just for the purpose of putting this on their palm card so to look good when they run. So really, but this is just a starting point. Okay, so she lists all those things, and then she lists her job, and she's a nurse, and she works with elderly people.
Okay.
So again, she cares about, I think that she cares about people, and she just says, I'm a nurse, with elderly people, and doesn't really embellish on it or try to extrapolate something that makes her sound awesome or anything like that. And then on the back of it, she has pictures of all the council people who endorse her, but she says why their endorsement matters. Their
Because too, that's
endorsement
where I guess
why
that's
it matters.
I'll see so and so endorsed by so and so, and then that same so and so endorsed their
Right.
That,
An
so,
endorsement again alone.
So that's where for me it's like saying it's like me going out and saying like Susie's a great person and so's her competition, and it's
Right.
like, well, thanks for nothing. Like now I'm more conflicted. So
Right.
yeah, so I thank you. That's why they're endorsing
why
it.
they endorse
so specifically
her,
because
and what is good about that endorsement and who they are, and it even has pictures of the people that endorse her.
Right.
So I think that's also, again, not enough. Anyone can say anything, but it gives you a starting point. Now her opponent.
So you can start comparing the who to the what.
Exactly.
And because like
It's
for
a
me,
starting
like if
point.
someone's endorsing, have James do all your construction on your home. Like, well, James just said he's terrible at construction, so even though
Exactly.
James being endorsed, I
Right.
don't want him for that because
Right.
he just told me he's terrible at it. But
Right.
now that he's running for a position, now he's
Right.
good at it.
Right.
So
Right,
so-
exactly.
All right, cool.
No. So her opponent is a lady who's also very nice. Her name is Pat Robbins, and on her card she has a picture of herself and her family. And again, she's looks like a lovely person, and her family looks nice, and she exists, and that's good. So +1,
All
right?
Cool.
But what I find striking is that she's Laura is talking about why she would be good for the community. Pat says, vote for me, and I am this and I am that, and it's more about who she is and not about what she offers. So she talks about her job in retail, and she sort of makes it sound, it's hard to understand exactly what she did. It's not being completely, it's hard for me to understand what it is that she did and why it matters. It's just the way, it's just sort of fuzzy the way she explains it,
Okay.
And then it's just like,
So
I
to,
support this, I support that, I support
Correct
this,
that.
I support
Correct.
that, but there's no, it's no, like she says, I'm for economic development and I want to work with current and future businesses for the city
Okay.
or something. But there's no reason to think that there's anything else other than I want to do that. But why
Correct.
do you want to do that? Why do you think
And
you're
too,
good
like
at
that's not even obviously that's an example of what's going on, but like that's everywhere where you have kind of, and it's how is that person being counseled on branding, marketing,
Right,
the
right.
communication piece is super important. So
Yeah.
that's where
Again, it's like one person's talking about herself, the other one's talking about you and why you should hire her. Because again, it's like these are like their resumes, and you're hiring them. So which one would you choose to fill the position?
Correct.
The one talking about herself or the one talking about her qualifications?
Right.
So that's and it's not to disparage Pat. Pat's a nice lady, like I said. I just think that just looking at them in terms of their candidate qualifications,
So that's kind of
I
a-
think that this is a good place to start. Now again, it's not enough alone. I mean,
It shouldn't
if that's
end
all
there.
you get, then look at those things and you can kind of decide there. But I think that those then raise questions that you can ask. So you can ask the candidates themselves. They should have contact information. So you can ask the candidates themselves.
on the
Exactly.
Okay.
So I might ask Pat,
Yes.
why, you say you're for economic development. What in your background makes you qualified to, work on economic development projects in our city?
And then you can go back and ask the same question to
Laura. Right.
Correct.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So that's where and do you I'm assuming you recommend that you need, if you get your top, I'm big on top threes, everything,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
have your top three.
Yeah.
Top three things that you are really concerned about
Yeah.
for your personal, whether it's your personal reasons, your family reasons, your business, whatever. Pick your top three things, but would you encourage, say, ask both candidates the same thing? Mm-hmm. Because, too, that's where you can kind of set yourself up for failure, where if you're just kind of simply only going off of what they're communicating to you and drawing questions from that, it should be really what matters to you. But that way you can kind of get a feel for...
Yeah. I mean, I
what's
think,
going on.
if economic development, is really important and you want to build up some, blighted areas of the city and that's your main issue, then
Which is
yes,
huge.
definitely
Which
ask
is
both.
huge.
Right.
Yes.
Definitely ask both.
Yes.
But if you're more just interested in who's more community focused versus me focused, if that's something that you're concerned about, then you might ask different questions and just, challenge things that they state in their literature.
Okay.
Or just call them up. If they have a phone number, call them up and see how the conversation goes. Or if you have a friend, here's where a yard sign might help. If you have a friend you trust who has one of the candidates' yard signs in the yard, ask them, why do you have their yard sign in your yard?
They're gonna be like, they asked me.
Yeah, well, and if that's the only reason, then that's not helpful.
No, sorry, that's not a good reason.
No, or call the people who endorse them and ask why they endorse them. Because if they really endorse them and they fervently endorse them, then they'll be happy to explain why and give you really, really great reasons why.
Great. Awesome. So that's where, too, just kind of making sure that the people are saying, I'm going to do this for you. Mm-hmm. If the conversation seems like, hey, it seems like Freddie is all about me. Mm-hmm. And that backs up what he's been marketing. Mm-hmm. And then talk to Susie, and Susie's all like, again, saying, hey, here's my qualification, here's my qualification, here's my qualification. But then you talk to Susie, and Susie is saying, well, that's my qualifications, but what are you looking for? Right. So if the conversation, the actual human conversation, is the opposite of the marketing literature, that's kind of would you say is a red flag?
Yeah, it could be a red flag. I mean, or it could just be that they got bad advice or just aren't good at coming up with what to put on their,
Which is hard.
Their literature.
Hard.
It is hard. No, it is really hard. No,
yeah.
I totally understand that. But again, I think it's, all things being equal, I think that their true motivation for running for office comes through. Mm-hmm. If it will come through in how they present their materials. It'll come through in how they campaign, and I think it'll come through in how they communicate with you if you get a chance to talk to them.
So make sure you talk to them, ideally. Mm-hmm. Talk to anyone who's endorsed them.
Yes.
And then talk to, basically, I'm thinking too of talking to their places of business, talking to, like, for example, for me, I do a lot with the Humane Society, and I do a lot with other organizations. So if I'm running for city council, that would be a good place for someone to say, all right, James says he's active in the community, and they can go talk to our director of Team IBB, be like, give me the scoop. What is James really like?
Right,
and then,
exactly. Yeah.
And then she can be like, he's a terrible person. I would never vote for him. That basically would be...
Right. Well, you have to be careful, too, because some people might have other motivations to slam someone, and you don't really know.
Yeah,
so that's, and again, it's how they... And if someone's just slamming someone and saying, they're mean, I hate how they are, they're so and they're so like, that's might not be a good person to ask.
Yeah, because that's what...
It should be just constructive criticism.
Yeah, but definitely go to the community outlets where people say they've been participating to get, because again, past results is not guaranteed future results, but
it's a good indication.
I know
that's all you have to go on.
How I am in my community activities, that's how you need me. That's how I'm going to show up for my other non-profit. Say, like I said, the money for city council or for whatever public servant position. That can't, just like with coaching.
Yeah.
Like, it's not if it was about the money, same
It's
thing,
not
50
about the
cents an
money.
hour. You know, I'm not even getting minimum wage.
You're like 25 cents?
But you know, like I love it, and I hope
Mm-hmm,
that too. That's what the families and the athletes and the other coaches involved. I hope that's what they're getting out of my participation in that. Is that if I ever go somewhere and say run for office, whatever, people can go back and say, how was James as a coach?
Right.
What was he really there for? Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's
Cool.
that's a really great analogy.
Okay.
So there are politicians who do care about the people and really want to do a good job for their
Yes.
communities.
Yes.
They really are.
And-
Believe it.
Yes, thank you. And I need to check myself. I need to say, James, stop assuming, stop clumping all politicians in the
And
same.
don't just pick the one just because you think you have to.
Don't
If you
pick-
don't know, just don't vote on that
Don't
one.
vote.
It's better to just not. If you don't know, don't do it.
Write yourself in.
Yeah.
But all right, well, very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us for part 2, the who of the hashtag IBB community. So thank you very much for
thank
that.
you.
That was, I'm like feeling good. Feeling
I'm so
good. Like
glad.
I can go and be looking for key points of what's being marketed. Also, too, just the concept of calling the candidate.
Yeah,
and
you're
say-
allowed to do that.
Say, hey, I don't know if you know me, but I know your sign, and I'd like
Exactly.
to learn more about you, the person. So,
Yeah, for sure.
very good. All right. Well, until next time, stay burn proof.